The Galactic Council's chambers fell silent as Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthak Empire delivered his verdict. His crystalline voice resonated through the vast amphitheater, each word carefully chosen to cut deep. The species known as humans possess neither the physical prowess of the Krillian shock troops, nor the tactical brilliance of the Cerebral Collective, nor the technological superiority of the Nexus Confederation. Zethkar declared, his forearms gesturing dismissively at the human delegation. Their application to join our military coalition against the Devourer swarms is denied. Captain Sarah Chen remained perfectly still in her seat, her dark eyes fixed on the alien ambassador. Around her, the other human representatives showed no emotion, though she could feel the collective tension radiating from her species' small delegation. Behind them, holographic displays showed the advancing Devourer fleets, a mechanical plague that consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space in their wake. Furthermore, Zethkar continued, we recommend that humanity focus on support roles, supply chains perhaps, medical assistance for the wounded, leave warfare to those evolved for it. The chamber erupted in chittering, buzzing, and harmonic agreements from the assembled alien species. The Krillians, 8 feet, tall with armored carapaces, clicked their mandibles in amusement. The floating brain cases of the Cerebral Collective pulsed with what might have been contempt. Even the usually neutral Silicon Syndicate's representatives flickered their optical sensors in what passed for laughter among their kind. Captain Chen stood slowly, her movement causing a ripple of attention across the chamber. At barely 5.5 feet tall, weighing perhaps 130 pounds, she looked impossibly fragile among the assembled alien representatives. Ambassador Zethkar, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. You're absolutely right. The statement sent confused murmurs through the crowd. Zethkar's compound eyes glittered with satisfaction. We're not the strongest, Chen continued. The Krillians can tear through steel with their bare claws. We're not the smartest. The Cerebral Collective processes information at quantum speeds. We're not the most advanced. The Nexus Confederation builds ships that dwarf our finest vessels. She paused, letting her words sink in. But you've made one critical error in your assessment. The chamber grew quiet again, sensing a shift in the human's demeanor. You assumed that warfare is about being the best at any single thing. You assumed that evolution creates perfect warriors. Chen's smile was sharp as broken glass. You never asked what we're actually good at. 3 months later, the first reports began filtering back from the Kepler front, where the Devourer swarms had broken through the Council's defensive lines. The news was confusing. The human fleet engaged the Devourer swarm at 0400 hours, local time. Admiral Vex of the Nexus Confederation reported to the Emergency Council session. His synthesized voice carried notes of bewilderment. Initial scans showed them outnumbered 15-1. Standard tactical doctrine would have called for immediate retreat. And, prompted Zethkar, though his tone suggested he already knew the outcome would vindicate his earlier assessment. They won. The chamber erupted in chaos. Through the cacophony, Admiral Vex continued his report. The humans didn't engage the swarm directly. Instead, they used what they called guerrilla tactics. They would strike at the edges of the swarm, then disappear into asteroid fields or gas clouds. When the Devourers pursued, the humans had laid traps. Jury-rigged explosives, redirected asteroids, even weaponized solar flares. Zethkar's mandibles clicked nervously. Surely the swarm adapted. That's just it, Vex interrupted. Every time the Devourers adapted to one tactic, the humans switched to something completely different. They fought like they were making it up as they went along. Our tactical computers couldn't even predict their next moves, let alone the Devourers. The reports continued to pour in over the following weeks. At the Rigel cluster, a single human destroyer had somehow convinced an entire Devourer fleet to follow it into a star's corona, destroying both the ship and the entire mechanical swarm. At Proxima Station, human Marines had boarded Devourer vessels and reprogrammed them to fight each other. At Vega Prime, They had somehow taught the local population of crystalline entities to mimic devourer signal patterns, causing massive confusion in the swarm's collective intelligence. Each victory seemed impossible. Each strategy defied conventional military doctrine. And yet, system by system, the humans were pushing back the tide that had consumed half the galaxy. General Marcus Rodriguez stood before the council 3 months after the first engagement, his weathered face bearing fresh scars from the Battle of Centauri 7. Unlike Captain Chen's diplomatic composure, Rodriguez radiated barely contained violence. "You want to know our secret?" he asked the assembled aliens, his voice rough from breathing recycled air in combat suits. "You think warfare is about having the biggest gun, the strongest armor, the fastest ships, but you've all been fighting the same wars for millennia. You've evolved specialized warriors perfect for the conflicts you've always known." He gestured to his chest, where his uniform displayed ribbons representing battles across a dozen star systems. "We're generalists. We evolved not as the apex predator, but as the species that could survive anything. Ice ages, floods, droughts, plagues, we adapted. Every human soldier carries the genetic memory of 10,000 different survival strategies." Rodriguez's eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gaze of each alien representative. "You asked what we're good at? We're good at war because we're good at chaos. We're good at taking whatever's lying around and turning it into a weapon. We're good at looking at impossible odds and finding a way to cheat." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "But most importantly, we're good at refusing to quit when every rational being would surrender." The final battle came 6 months later, when the Devourer Prime, a massive construct the size of a moon, appeared at the edge of Council space. Every remaining fleet in the galaxy converged on the system, ready for humanity's ultimate test. The humans didn't disappoint. They arrived not in a fleet, but in a ragtag collection of ships that shouldn't have been spaceworthy, freighters, welded together, civilian vessels bristling with improvised weapons, even what appeared to be a converted space station flying under its own power. "This is Admiral Chen," came the transmission from the human flagship. "All ships execute Plan Lazarus." What followed defied every principle of military engineering the galaxy had ever known. The humans didn't attack the Devourer Prime directly. Instead, they began a complex dance around it, each ship following seemingly random patterns while broadcasting seemingly meaningless signals. It took the Council observers several hours to realize what the humans were doing. They were turning the Devourer Prime's own construction protocols against it, using its recursive self-improvement algorithms to create an exponential loop that consumed the construct's processing power. The moon-sized entity began to devour itself, its own mechanical perfection becoming a trap that the chaotic, illogical humans had somehow engineered. As the Devourer Prime collapsed into scrap metal and dark energy, Captain Chen's voice echoed across the emergency frequencies. "Council Command, this is Admiral Chen. The Devourer threat has been neutralized. Humanity requests formal admission to the Galactic Defense Coalition." In the council chambers, Ambassador Zethkar stared at the tactical displays showing the impossible victory. Around him, representatives from dozens of species sat in stunned silence. "Motion approved," he said quietly. "Unanimously." Later, when military historians studied the human wars, they would struggle to categorize the species' approach to conflict. Humans, they concluded, didn't fight wars. They imposed their own chaotic nature on the universe until reality bent to accommodate them. The galaxy learned a valuable lesson. Evolution doesn't create perfect warriors. It creates survivors. And when survival requires victory, humans will find a way to redefine what victory means.